Welcome to the Fierce Kind Mama of Multiples podcast. This podcast is for anyone raising multiples, twins, triplets, or more. I speak to inspiring parents of multiples who have healed from unexpected pregnancies and birthing experiences and who candidly share the highs and lows of raising multiples. I also speak to the professionals that work with multiple birth families. Together, we cover the practicalities of raising more than one baby at a time, as well as enhancing the emotional well-being of caregivers and children alike. Come join us as we laugh, cry, and share our personal and professional wisdom on all things multiples. I'm your host, Dr. Christina Kavetsa, and I am a fierce, kind mama of multiples. Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Dr. Christina Kavetsa, and today I am joined by Dr. Valerie Hertzog. Valerie is a medical doctor, wellness coach, and mom of three, including twins. Valerie empowers others to stop putting their health on the back burner so that they can be healthier, feel energized, and thrive in their everyday lives. She completed her medical training in Canada and practices in preventative health and lifestyle medicine. In this episode, you're going to hear how Valerie dealt with a life-altering medical diagnosis while in medical school that really was the catalyst to build her business as a wellness coach and help other busy moms like herself thrive. You're also going to hear how Valerie helps women reclaim control of their health by making small, sustainable lifestyle changes in 4 key pillars of health. Stick around to the end because Valerie has a special offer for you. If you have any questions after listening to this episode for Valerie or myself, please do not hesitate to get in touch. Our details are in the podcast show notes. And just a quick reminder, if you are expecting multiples, be sure to check out my free guide to help you prepare physically, emotionally, and financially. You can find it at fiercekindmama.com and click on the free resources tab. Welcome to the show, Valerie. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us about yourself and the work that you do.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a medical doctor and a wellness coach. I'm based in Canada, and I work with busy, ambitious women in their 30s and 40s who are feeling tired, stressed, and overwhelmed and ready to reclaim control of their health so they can feel energized and thrive. So yeah, I've been working as a wellness coach now for the past 2 years and just really loving the work that I do and working with women in similar life stages who are dealing with lots of different things, juggling all the things in life and work and parenting, and helping them achieve more of a balance through sustainable lifestyle changes.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And when you were speaking, I was thinking, okay, I need to put my hand up because I sound like your ideal client. So, Valerie, you've trained as a medical doctor, as you said. What inspired you to start your wellness coaching business?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's so many things. I think just my own upbringing. I grew up sort of in a holistic health household, always very interested in nutrition and exercise. And I got into yoga when I was a teenager as well, which I really loved, and eventually pursued and got my yoga teacher training certification. And when I went to medical school, I always knew I wanted to help people in some way. And I was interested in health and psychology, and it just seemed like the right fit. And I was a little bit, I don't know if like shocked is the right word, but surprised by the medical system and seeing the hospitals and seeing the focus on sick care. And as much as I liked being there and liked being able to help people, I was a little bit discouraged by the state of healthcare and the healthcare system, and knew that I wanted to try to approach things a little bit differently and not necessarily follow the traditional path in medicine. So I kind of had that going in. And then when I was a medical student as well, I developed a health condition, an autoimmune condition where I actually lost all of my hair, and I was just really struggling. I was feeling stressed and overwhelmed and burnt out and doing the long, 24 to 30-hour shifts at the hospital by towards the end of medical school. And I just knew it wasn't right for me. I had to take care of myself so I could take care of others and really help others. So it kind of led me down this path where eventually, over the course of about 10 years, I ended up opening up my own business, wanting to help women in a more holistic way, really wanting to go and look at lifestyle factors and lifestyle changes that could really make a big difference. Because over the course of those 10 years, I had created my own health foundation and really focused on a multitude of key pillars of health and had brought myself back to like a really healthy place. And it led me to wanting to help others do the same. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I know that's there's a lot there, but
Yeah, yeah,
many
there
different things. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you mentioned that you lost your hair. How did that
Hmm.
how did that kind of affect you, or how did that happen?
Yeah.
And how did that kind of, I guess, was that a bit of the catalyst for making changes?
Yeah, I think it was. And I think like a lot of women, I was just go, go, go. You know, I was really busy student at the time, medical student, studying long hours, working in the hospital. I wasn't taking good care of myself just because I really couldn't. It was just the necessities of the work that I was doing. And I think, you know, our bodies eventually will speak to us in different ways. And in my case, it came as hair loss. And definitely, I think stress played a role, and that feeling of overwhelm and being on the verge of burnout. But I think there were lots of things at play, and it was, yeah, definitely a wake up call for me. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't really have the chance to deal with it. So I kept going because I wanted to graduate from medical school. This was towards the end of medical school. It was about 6 months before my wedding when I actually, like, all of the hair loss happened in the span of a few months. And there was just so much going on in my life that I sort of dealt with it as best as I could and kept going. And it wasn't really until 2 years, about 2.5 years later, when I actually finished all of my training and had completing the training to become a family doctor, that I really took some time and some space to stop and to reflect and to really look at what I wanted and to really prioritize my health. That was really the first step for me, was to take that break and look at what was going on and realize that I couldn't keep going at that pace. And I really had to take good care of myself so I could show up for myself and for my patients and for my family.
Yeah, and when you were speaking, I
Yeah.
was thinking, what the kind of irony that it is that, you
Hmm.
are trying to study to become a doctor and focus on
Hmm.
people's health and keeping people well, and you were working so hard and at such a pace that you actually, something, if you like, illness or sickness kind of then affected you, in the
Hmm.
process of trying to actually focus on health and helping others. And so, I think that speaks to, I guess, the effects that burnout, right, can have on us. And when we're working at a pace that is just unsustainable, I wonder if
Hmm.
that kind of played a part in it too, in terms of, because I know for myself, starting this business was, I guess, one of the aims for me was wanting to help people for sure, but also wanting to create a business that was more sustainable for myself,
Yeah.
and something that
Yeah.
would light me up and give me, kind of the energy and drive that, um, after having children, it was, or after having twins in
Hmm.
particular, that I kind of lost a bit of that. So I'm wondering if for you there was there a bit of that too, kind of like trying to start something that was more sustainable?
Definitely. And I knew after I took that pause, which that was really just a few months, I really was careful in what I took on afterwards in terms of my career and my work. And I was very sort of deliberate in choosing opportunities that made sense, that I was excited to do, but also that gave me that more of that balance and allowed me to have a sustainable lifestyle. So prioritizing all those other things along with my work. And I think that became even more important once I became a mom. But at that point, it was really important for me to choose what I was going to do and to have control over my schedule and to have that sustainable work-life balance. That was really important. Hmm.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you are a mother, so let's talk a bit
Yeah.
about that, because you're a
Yeah.
mother of three, including
That's
twins.
right.
Can you tell
Hmm.
us a bit about your multiple birth journey?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I had my first son in 2017, and as anyone knows, like, just becoming a mother was a big adjustment. But I think, at that point I was quite established in my career and ready for it, and as best as you could be. And yeah, and it definitely came with its challenges. But my husband and I, we handled things, I think, relatively well. And I went back to work, and about two years later, we decided we wanted to maybe try for a second. And then, big surprise, ended up pregnant with twins. So that was definitely the biggest shock of my life, that that ultrasound where we found out. And I was actually on my own during that ultrasound. So it was definitely, yeah. big surprise. And yeah, and then I was lucky that I had, a pretty uncomplicated pregnancy and delivery. But yeah, right away, obviously having two newborns along with a toddler, it was just a lot to deal with. And yeah, definitely a big adjustment. I would say probably even a bigger adjustment than going from 0 to 1 was going from 1 to 3. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And is there something that, you wish someone had told you or that you wish you knew before having twins?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think a lot of people were sort of trying to scare me in the best possible way. I think they were trying to prepare me. Like I remember even my obstetrician telling me how hard that first year was going to be, and just hear kind of these horror stories of, absolutely no sleep and yeah, just how difficult. And I think I wish somebody had shared with me some of the positive things about having twins, because there were a lot of positives. And as much as I probably don't remember much of those first 6 months and even that first year, just a bit of a blur. There were lots of magical moments, and having had been a mom before, I could see sort of the special twin bond as well, between my twins, and the differences, and the fact that they always had sort of a playmate, and it was really sweet to see the two of them sort of grow up together and be there for each other. So that was really, yeah, there was lots of nice moments as a family that we had. And um, yeah, I think sometimes we need to focus more on the positives and look at, yeah, all the good things that are coming as well, and not just on the sleep deprivation and the difficult moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you on that
Mhm.
100%. And recently, actually, on the podcast, I decided to do an episode on that, celebrating the joys of raising multiples, because I do think we tend to focus,
Yeah.
and for good reason, like there is a good reason for us to
Mhm.
focus on the negative in the sense that once we make visible what is invisible, once we name
Yeah.
the struggles, then we can address them. But at the same time, I think
Yeah.
we often overlook, particularly as health professionals, we're because I think, a lot of the
Hmm.
times I don't know about you, but in my work, the focus is often people are coming to you when they have problems, right? And so
Hmm.
you are focusing on kind of the negatives. And I think that it really is, it's incumbent, I guess, upon us as professionals to also balance that with actually
Yeah.
there are going to be positive moments. There'll be magical moments, and that's important to
Hmm.
recognize and emphasize as well, like a balanced view, right?
Yes, exactly.
I was wondering, because we've been talking about you starting this wellness coaching business as a way to kind of help others, yes, but also to prioritize your own
Hmm.
health and, you know,
Hmm.
regain, maybe if you like, if that's hopefully the way you'd put it, but I'm not sure, regain kind of your own well-being. How hard
Hmm.
has it been for you to prioritize your own health, as a mother of three, including twins?
Yeah, yeah. I think as any parent will know, it definitely gets harder once you do have kids, and your priorities do shift and change. But I've been lucky that, I had set up sort of my life before having kids, and I knew that it was really important for myself to stay healthy and to prioritize, the things that keep me well. So I already had sort of a plan in place, and healthy habits in place. It had taken me some time to sort of develop, but they were already in place. So once I became a mom, there were definitely some shifts. And I think the biggest shift for me has just been time. Like I don't have an hour and a half necessarily to go to a yoga class every week like I used to. And so it's been about being more efficient with my time and finding the smaller pockets of time to fit in like a 20 or 30-minute workout, and to prioritize going to the grocery store and meal planning, and making sure that we have, healthy food in our house, and just having the things in place that I know are important, and involving the family in that as well. So my husband is very involved, and we're getting the kids involved as well, and just modeling those healthy behaviors and including them so that they yeah, feel a part of it, and help with the cooking, and we make sure we're active as a family. So doing it all together definitely helps.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I when you were talking, I was thinking about my kids have just gotten into sports, like team sports, and so they're playing on a team. And what we've been doing as a family is uh kind of these exercise videos at home, to sort of, like, we call it, like,
Oh
our
yeah.
training, our training that we're all doing
Yep.
together. And I think it's great. I think I totally agree with that
Hmm.
idea that we have to be role models, and it's really important, not to use, I think, our children as maybe because I think this can sometimes happen where we might use it as an excuse. We might say, oh, we don't have time because we have to look after the kids. But, I think even when and I wish I had done this more when my boys were babies, is just like have them there beside you, do a
Yeah.
workout from home with,
Hmm.
obviously, I mean, being mindful if you've got like weights or things like that can hurt them. But, I think there is a way, right? There is a way to kind of
Hmm.
incorporate and make it family time. Like it can be actually a nice
Yep.
way to bond. I have found that as well. I think that's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, on this podcast, I've spoken, I think people who've been listening for a while will know that I'm a firm believer in preventative healthcare. And my expertise, I guess, is in psychology. So I'm particularly interested in that when it comes to mental health. I'm
Hmm.
wondering what you think about, do you think we place enough emphasis on preventative healthcare as parents? And
Hmm.
if not, why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think we could definitely place more focus on it. I think we often have the best intentions, but I think it's just because we're busy, right? We're dealing with a lot of things as parents. A lot of us are juggling parenting with work and all of our other responsibilities. So sometimes, those things that we know are important that can kind of be last on the to-do list just because we're busy and it can be difficult. So I think it is definitely very important, especially as we get older too. Like I notice now that what works for me now is different from what worked for me in my 20s, and it's even more important for me now to prioritize the things that keep me well so that I can be there for my kids and show up, in the world as the person that I want to be. So I think, yeah, definitely mental health plays a big role in that. And for me specifically, like I know those key pillars of health, like nutrition, exercise, stress management, and sleep are all things that keep me physically healthy, but also mentally healthy. And so, yeah, I think all parents can benefit from focusing more on those preventative strategies. And then finding I think a key here too is just simple shifts. So we're not talking about taking hours a week to do these things, but just small, sustainable lifestyle changes that can really have a big impact.
Hi there, Fierce Kind Mama. Sorry to interrupt the discussion, but I have something to share with you that I know you're going to love. We're often told that parenting can be hard, and whether you're a soon to be or current parent of multiples, there is going to come a time when you will probably feel stressed, overwhelmed, or even worried about the future. That's why I've developed a free guide for parents just like you with my 5 top tips for handling stress and overwhelm. You can download it now from my website, fiercekindmama.com. Yeah, I'm all for the sustainable practices because I think there's
Hmm.
no, there's no benefit in telling someone to do something that they just can't simply fit into their schedule. And
Yeah.
it's tricky, right? Because sometimes, I think I get a lot of clients that'll say, well, or a lot of people that say, I'm really interested in what you have to offer, but I don't have time. And it's tricky because I think that as a professional, I'm trying to honor people's time. So creating something
Hmm.
that I think is quite doable, maybe a few uh, if, for example, in my programs, I have short videos where I provide information, but they're only like maybe 10 to 20 minutes. And
Yeah.
so there's a bit of kind of balancing with where you kind of have to challenge that notion that you don't have time because most people
Hmm.
will be able to find snippets of time in their schedule where they could listen to something for 10 or 20 minutes, right? So
Yeah.
I think we sometimes think we don't have enough time, but when we're talking about these small sustainable steps, we're really saying that they
Hmm.
don't have to be huge, right? And they can be, they
Hmm.
don't necessarily have to be all in one go either. We can break it up.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
something is better than nothing. So if we can even focus just for 10 to 15 minutes a day on something that makes us feel good, then why wouldn't we do that? For the purpose
Hmm.
of longevity, right? The purpose of
Yes.
being around for our children. So I think that's
Hmm.
absolutely key.
Hmm.
What are some of the common problems that you see among the women and mothers that you work with?
Yeah, and I think like what you were mentioning about time is a big one. So, as part of my programs as well with the women that I coach, we always start looking at time and energy management and looking at are there ways that we can, save some time in certain areas. We do a time audit. We look at, what is draining their energy and what is giving them energy. And we try to, really hone in on those things so that we can make some space to make these sustainable lifestyle changes. So that's definitely, I think, the first key step. And yeah, so finding those pockets of time and then sometimes just noticing like where our time is going. I think a lot of us are guilty of, scrolling on social media sometimes for longer than we would like. And, maybe at night when we're tired, just sitting in front of the TV or a screen. And so even just noticing those things and maybe just setting reminders or timers so that we limit the time that we're spending doing those activities. And then that does open up time for other things. So I think, yeah, like you said, it's something that we can definitely work on in terms of time management and energy management. So that's definitely a big one that I think a lot of women and parents need support with. And then I think the other one is just around like small sustainable changes. So around the nutrition and the exercise, like finding ways to fit those things into their lives in ways that don't feel overwhelming. So as you were mentioning, starting with one thing at a time, setting these realistic goals that are doable, and then slowly adding on as you become successful at making those changes.
Yeah, wonderful. That sounds fantastic. And you were talking about earlier how you tend to focus your work on people who are busy, stressed, and overwhelmed. Why do you think women and mothers are so busy, stressed, and overwhelmed?
Yeah, I think it's the load, right? Like I call it like the mental load of everything, right? A lot of it still falls on mothers in terms of managing the household and juggling the home responsibilities and work responsibilities and all of the things that the kids have, all of their activities and school. And it's just the to-do list, I think, is endless. Like we always have such a long to-do list and there's always more to do. There's never a point where we think, oh, okay, we're done. We're done our work now. So I think that piece there is just there's just a lot to juggle. There's just a lot for women to deal with. And I think another piece of the puzzle is that we often we don't sort of our self-care, our needs are put last on the list, right? Like we take care of everybody else before taking care of ourselves. And that's something that I feel really strongly about, changing the narrative around that and really putting self-care at the center of everything that we do. Because if we're not well, if we're not taking good care of ourselves, if we don't have that energy, we really won't be able to show up for anybody else, including our kids. So really starting to prioritize that. And again, in ways that are sustainable. We're not talking about taking like weekly spa days, which would be lovely, but again, for most people, not realistic. So maybe it's just, 5 minutes where you sit outside with your cup of coffee or, a couple of minutes to take a few deep breaths or, meeting with a friend, having a walking date with a friend or something like that, just something that fills your cup and helps you sort of show up, yeah, as the person you want to be, right, with as much energy and yeah, as much in terms of mental health and capacity, and just really prioritizing that in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, I think you and I are 100% aligned on that. I often speak to people about that as well around, sometimes what I see is people coming to me and saying that they're having problems with their children's behavior, right? And what's interesting to me is that I don't think sometimes people recognize the role that they can play in modeling some of that, like that
Mhm.
kind of emotional management. And a lot of what I see is because we're so busy, particularly as parents of multiples, we kind of hit the ground running. We've got these
Yeah.
babies to care for. We're often doing
Mhm.
it kind of with very limited support. And we don't
Yeah.
have the space or the time to kind of reflect on our own emotions and how we're handling motherhood,
Mhm.
and the demands of
Mhm.
parenting multiples. And so what
Yeah.
I tend to see is that because we're not kind of managing our own emotions well enough, then, we tend to see the effects on our children as well. And I was actually reading some interesting research on maternal expressed emotion and how that
Mm.
impacts the twin sibling relationship. So they did this wonderful
Mm.
study looking at the effects of the maternal expressed emotion on the quality of the relationship between the twins.
Wow.
Maybe I'll leave that, for another day going into that. But I find that all really fascinating, and I think that, as mothers, we need to, as parents, and particularly as parents of multiples, we need to place a lot more emphasis on looking after ourselves, because when we do that, there's kind of that spill. They actually call that in the research the spillover effect on our children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Mhm.
How do you approach health and medicine as a wellness coach?
Yeah, so I definitely approached it in a holistic way, looking at the whole person and a whole person centered approach. I do I'm trained in family medicine here in Canada, but I also have extra training in lifestyle medicine and motivational interviewing and cognitive behavioral therapy. So I love sort of all of those pieces and bringing all of that into the coaching that I do as well. And specifically, as part of my wellness coaching, I focus on four key pillars of health. So nutrition, exercise, stress management, and sleep. And they all fit together. And self-care, I think, is central to all of that. So I really work on those four key pillars within my programs with my clients. And it's very individualized approach. I'm really focusing on, some people perhaps, the stress isn't too bad and their sleep is pretty well balanced, but then the nutrition exercise is where they really need some help. So, we focus on the areas that need the most support and we build out sort of a customized plan and yeah, sustainable changes.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. Do you have any advice for parents of multiple specifically on how to take a holistic
Mhm.
approach to their health?
Yeah. I think it's just starting where you're at. So I know obviously as parents of multiples, there's a lot going on, and like you said, you kind of hit the ground running the second the second the twins come into your life. So it's just starting where you're at, and I think a lot of self-compassion is really important as well because there are different struggles with raising multiples. So be compassionate towards yourself and starting with one small thing. So whatever it is that's most important to you, whether it is that focusing on nutrition or maybe it's focusing on sleep because really you're feeling low energy and you're tired and perhaps starting with the sleep will be something that will help in all the other areas of health and life. So starting where you're at and starting small. And I think the other piece too would be to get support if you can. And sometimes it can be in very small ways, but asking for help, asking for support, even if it's just in terms of accountability, when you're making your goals and setting those goals, just to have somebody to talk to about those things that can be really supportive.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it is really good to have really in all aspects of life, I find having it like an
Mhm.
accountability partner, someone that can
Mhm.
you can check in with and kind of
Yeah.
keeps you on track. I think that's really important and something that we probably don't speak
Mhm.
enough about, even in terms of being a parent. Like that we
Yeah.
know community is important and we know having support, but maybe having someone who even you can check in with, right? And have that kind
Mhm.
of who you speak to and say, you talk about your goals and your health goals too,
Yeah.
like what you want to focus on and just having that person that
Mhm.
can say, hey, did you do your 5 minutes of meditation today? Like, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's kind of a novel way of doing it, but it could be probably really effective.
Yeah. And definitely helping each other out too, like you said. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
So can you tell us a bit about the services or programs that you offer?
Sure. Yeah. So as a wellness coach, I work with women from around the world, even though I am based in Canada. And right now, I'm focusing on one-to-one coaching because I really love that individualized approach and working one-on-one with people. And yeah, so I offer two programs right now. I have a smaller 30-day program, which is all about creating customized health habits and having an action plan so that you sort of know right away what you need to do once those 30 days are done, and you can go and start implementing on your own. And then again, focusing on those four key pillars. And then I have a longer 3-month program where I'm really helping to implement those changes. And we're really, going deeper into the work and looking at again, individualized approach to making those health changes so that you can really feel more energized and thrive.
Oh, wow, that sounds fantastic. Where can people find out more about your services and offers?
Yes, I think my website is really probably the best place to go. So it's just my name, valeriehertzog.com. And then I do have him on Instagram as well. And yeah, I'm always happy to chat and connect with people. So feel free to reach out or send me a DM. And yeah, I would love to connect.
That sounds amazing. And we'll definitely put those details in the podcast show notes for people to connect with you. And Valerie, it was lovely to
Mhm.
connect with you today and to hear about your work. And is there any final thoughts or any final words you'd like to share with us?
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really great, and it's been great connecting to in the community of multiples, and so I'm really happy to be here and to speak to parents of multiples, and Yeah, I think to your listeners too, if you would like a little bit more help in getting started as well, I do have a free health assessment as well that I'm happy to share. So I know we talked a little bit about those 4 key pillars, but if someone's wondering about like where should I start, like where should I focus, by doing this health assessment, you can give them kind of their first steps to get started. So that's something definitely that I'm happy to share. And yeah, and I would just say to anybody listening, if yeah, just to start with one small goal and one small thing. And we know that, as we were saying, like taking action and just moving forward is what really matters. So just starting small and being compassionate, and yeah, you'll definitely move forward toward your goals.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll definitely put the details of the free health assessment um, in the podcast show notes. So if people want to check that out, I really encourage you to do so. What an amazing opportunity. Thank you so much, Valerie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you've heard, then please follow and leave a review so that other expectant and current parents of multiples like yourself can find this podcast and the valuable information it contains. I'd be so very grateful if you left a review and shared this with anyone you think could benefit from listening. If you have a particular topic you'd like me to cover on this podcast, feel free to reach out to me via my website, fiercekindmama.com. New episodes are released every second Wednesday, so I'll see you back here real soon. Any advice and information in this podcast is general only and has been prepared without taking into account your particular circumstances and needs. For tailored, individualized advice, please consult with a qualified professional.